to do your video first? Yep, get up. Get up. It's not the dreams that you tell you about. Not the way that the sun shines on your face. It's called Daddy.
Is it?
Yeah. The one that Laura was complaining about last time. It's your farm.
Something that's not chasing you, baby. I don't wanna see you. I got somebody watching over roots. I got somebody watching over not the dreams that you tell me about. Not the way that the sun shines on you, baby.
$7.
Where'd you go? I've been looking out my window. Yeah.
Okay, bro.
Go chasing something that's not chasing you, baby. I don't wanna see you. I got somebody watching over roots. I got somebody watching over roots. Do you think it's more than
Hey guys, Sandro here. Now today's video is a little different and was really a spur of the moment idea to see if our major hardware store chain here in Australia is in fact a good place to get your car detailing supplies. I actually couldn't remember the last time I bought a car wash soap or really any car detailing supply from a hardware store, though I know we're used to somewhat in the past. So I thought this could be interesting to see what's actually available in terms of car cleaning or detailing selections, how much they cost, what these products are like to work with, and importantly, how they perform. Now it's winter here in Australia, and here in country Victoria it's been quite cold and extremely wet. This Alfa Romeo Giulietta is my wife's daily driver and does a good 500 plus kilometers every week and sometimes up to 1,000 k's through some pretty average and muddy country roads to the city and back. So it doesn't take very long for it to get quite dirty. It's been about 2 weeks since its last wash, and on average it does get washed every fortnight and honestly comes up pretty well clean with the products and methods I typically use. So I thought, let's see how it comes up using some hardware store products and compare the whole experience and outcome. Now this isn't going to be a high-tech, thorough review and analysis of the products, but more so a casual look and feedback of the experience and results. And my lovely wife has also agreed to give me a hand in filming and testing the products alongside me to add her own feedback, as for the most part she's also quite versed and familiar with most products and methods I currently use. So let's get to it.
and your suitcase. All you don't need, nothing but you. So don't throw your hopes on a wishing well. It's your heart's desire carry you. Come and sail with me to the ocean. We don't have to dream because there's you. Nothing around us, just flames in the fire. And through the night they burn like me for you. Covered in wonder, sweet in silence.
So starting with the wheels, we put the recommended 50 to 100ml heavy duty truck and car wash detergent in our wheel bucket. We then used Glet's degreaser directly on the wheel areas and on our wheel brushes, and also tried it straight out of the bottle and at a 1-to-1 dilution with deionized water for comparison. So let's discuss the experience and results. As far as its consistency, fresh smell, low irritation and user friendliness goes, Glet's degreaser is actually very nice to use and definitely nicer than most degreasers in general. Now in a touchless spray, dwell and rinse process, I really didn't see much cleaning performance from Glet's used both neat and diluted, but using it straight was a little better at lifting dirt, though worse as far as drying up and limiting its dwelling time. If the wheels aren't as dirty as these, it could be okay for a light clean, but here it really didn't cut through any significant grime compared to what I normally use. Also guys, if you're interested, I'll try and add a list of the products I typically use in the description box. Moving on to a physical clean, I'll start by saying that I didn't mind the heavy duty truck and car wash detergent in the wheel bucket. It seemed to add some extra suds and lubrication to the wheel cleaning process, help flush the dirt from the brushes, and being so cheap, it could certainly be a decent economical option for a wheel bucket detergent where you may not want to use your more premium car wash soaps. But I'll talk more about the truck wash when we get to washing the car. In a physical cleaning process, Glet's, as expected, did much better here with the aid of cleaning brushes. Though once again, it was plain to both of us that it didn't quite achieve the cleaning result we were seeking. Now above all else, the constant issue we had with this degreaser, apart from its more limited cleaning ability, was that it just kept on drying on the surface super quickly. It was actually quite cold that day, below 10 degrees Celsius, and we never used it in direct sunlight, but within 30 to 60 seconds it was bone dry on the wheels and we had to keep on reapplying it and re-wetting the wheels constantly to aid the cleaning process and prevent any possible chemical etchings that are almost always a result of chemicals drying on the surface. Throughout this whole testing, we tried to evaluate many things like, can we actually get the surfaces just as clean with these products compared to what we usually use? And the fact of the matter is yes, absolutely. The difference, however, was time and product amount. I found that I had to go over the wheels 2 to 3 times and use 2 to 3 times more chemical to obtain a great result. Additionally, the constant issue with the prematurely drying and using far more of it made it harder to rinse off and just resulted in so much more work and wasted product. So I'm not sure it was actually cheaper in the end compared to the pricier degreasers I use, but I certainly know it wasn't a very efficient way of working. The other thing is that because we had to work the cleaner in more times over to achieve a better result, I don't feel it's the most gentle or safe way to go due to repeated cleaning cycles. Now look guys, I think in certain situations this could be a really great and nice degreaser to use potentially for cleaner cars and even on non-car applications in the home, garage or where chemical drying isn't an issue. It's also important to mention that there were a few other degreasers available, but just be wary about using anything too industrial on your car, as I've been there before and stronger isn't always better or safe. It's more about tuning a degreaser to make it more effective but still safe for car surfaces and environments, and that can be a very specific thing. So next up was a pre-wash snow foam treatment to hopefully help loosen and remove more dirt prior to rinsing the vehicle. I did a little testing beforehand and found that, at least with my setup, a 1:7 dilution of the truck wash detergent in my foam lance was a great ratio to use. The consistency of the foam was fantastic, not too thick, not too thin. It just seemed to cling to the car well and also dwell really nicely and evenly for up to 10 minutes. So all in all, once I got the ratio right, the heavy duty detergent had a great user experience and dwelling performance. Now onto the not so good aspects. I actually coated this car with CarPro Hydro 2 a few washes back, and although Hydro 2 was starting to degrade a little, it certainly wasn't entirely gone. So compared to the previous wash where it was still beating reasonably well, it was really masked up here immediately. Now the more we rinsed the car, we slowly started to see some hydrophobic performance return bit by bit, which is a classic sign of excess or hard to remove detergent residue masking the finish. Even more so disappointing was the fact that this detergent just didn't seem to aid the cleaning process all that well. Compared to the pre-wash foams I normally use, it was clear that it was struggling to aid the dirt removal as there was still way too much surface grime remaining. Once again guys, we repeated the process to see if this detergent can get us there, and it did in the end after a couple more applications. But it was near impossible to flush the detergent's residue completely off, and it just took so much more time and product. With these truck washers, you have to be careful as some of them can be strongly acidic or strongly alkaline leaning and can absolutely etch and degrade car paint. But that wasn't the case with this one. It's actually pretty close to pH neutral and just very slightly alkaline leaning. But it's not aggressive at all, lacks the punch it needs and seems a little diluted in that sense, but strangely also residue heavy. If I had to take a guess, I'd say it's almost like a diluted or weaker dish soap in every way performed and behaved.
I got open it.
Alright, it's not a foaming marathon, yeah? It's usually like 5 seconds, if that.
Ready?
Well, put it back in and then just do the grab. Now for the hand wash, we use the Mechanics Wash and Wax. I think it smells reasonably nice. Although it doesn't foam up quite as well as the heavy duty, it's still quite decent there, and I thought the lubrication was fine. So all in all, it's actually a decent user experience, especially considering just how affordable it is. As far as cleaning action goes, I really don't think it's great in that area. I tried a quick comparison test with the heavy duty truck wash, and that seemed to lift and remove a lot more dirt by comparison, but it also wasn't as well lubricated when you ran the wash mitt over the paint. The other important thing is the wax element to this wash soap. Now, I wasn't expecting it to be extremely hydrophobic or slick, but quite honestly, you have to give me at least some quicker water sheeting, smoothness and gloss if you're going to call it a wash and wax, and I just saw nothing except more masking of the sealant with no wax-like benefits. I think if your car isn't all that dirty, it'll work fine to remove light dirt, but on a higher mileage car through country roads, this just isn't going to be a great option to lift more significant grime, and calling it a wash and wax is a little on the optimistic side. As far as the Morgan wash mitt goes, I'll start by saying that I'm not a fan of noodle microfiber wash mitts. I don't think they wash as well as stranded microfiber weaves, and I also think they're more aggressive on the paint. But that's just my personal experience. In saying that, if you are a fan of microfiber noodle wash mitts, find another one, anyone apart from this Morgan one, as it's just simply terrible. The quality of the microfiber itself isn't nice or plush, and you can feel the mesh liner making contact with the paint as the noodles are way too few and way too far apart. I try to find something positive in everything I test, but apart from the low price, it's all bad here, enough said. Now this part with the Mr. Clean synthetic chamois was just comical, and we both really just started laughing. Now it does say on the package for use with car paint and windows, and that it glides over the surface for a perfect smear-free finish. This was the biggest chamois I could find there, and there certainly wasn't any microfiber drying towels, but we couldn't even dry a square foot area with this thing, and it would take a good hour to dry a whole car with it. Apart from that, it doesn't glide all that well or that safely. I think you guys know the drill. Don't use this or any other chamois to dry your car. Use a microfiber towel or blower. I do these tests so you guys don't have to, and once again, enough said. Now as we were drying the car off, it started to rain and didn't stop raining that whole weekend. Then the car was driven, got dirty, so this video was delayed by 2 weeks until we got some good weather outside to finish off the testing. This turned out to be a blessing in disguise because it gave me another opportunity to compare these products with what I usually use, and that really helped confirm a lot of what I've already discussed. Now the Subco microfiber cloth pack was actually the single most expensive item I purchased, and they seem to be the best microfiber towels available there. In saying that, they were still below $2 each, so quite cheap in price. They do have a stated description of being a thick and absorbent 280 GSM cloth, but honestly guys, they're neither thick or absorbent, and the feel and finish of the microfiber is a touch aggressive and not something I'd use on car paint. On glass, certain trims and interiors and even household cleaning, I think they'll be fine and safe, but I also noticed some dye running when used with certain chemicals, so definitely give them a separate wash before use. Overall, microfiber cloths have dramatically gone down in price, and even at the $2 mark, especially if you're buying in bulk, I think there's loads better options for car care cloths. Next was the exterior and interior glass cleaning using Simple Green's glass cleaner. From a point of being very non-aggressive and quite user-friendly with low irritation, if you're someone who has high sensitivity to chemicals, this could be the one for you. However, performance-wise, if it didn't have a glass cleaner label on it, I never would have guessed it was a glass cleaner at all. It just didn't self-level or aid the drying and streak-free process at all, and like a typical glass cleaner. So you have to pretty much gather it all back up with your cloths and definitely spend more time and use more cloths to achieve a good finish. We both noticed that its ability to remove light spots and build up interior glass films was nowhere near as effective compared to doing some side-by-side test comparisons with other glass cleaners we use. It just lacks any real ability to cut through grime, and its absence of any effective self-leveling aids made it time-consuming and honestly annoying to use. I understand it may be a more user or eco-friendly cleaner, but it still has to perform well. And for us, it just missed the mark in that area and took what's already a bit of a pain in cleaning glass and made it a little worse. The Mechanic's Auto Protectant is a self-described interior and exterior multi-trim protectant, conditioner and cleaner. I'll start by saying that of all the products we used, this was the one we both like most. It's quite nice and easy to apply and seems to have good lubrication to deal with a little light dust cleaning. It's not greasy or highly glossy, but rather adds some nice saturation and a satin sheen. It also seemed to even out a few light blemishes on the plastic, vinyl and leather trims. I'm not going to lie and say it was the best finish I've seen, but at under $11 for a massive 1 litre bottle, this could actually be one of the most economical yet still reasonably good dressings I've tried. Now one thing to take note of is that it does leave a slick finish behind. So when we used it on car seats and armrests, we did experience a little slipping and sliding, so I'd avoid it on those areas and certainly on the steering wheel, car mats and pedals. But on everything else, from dashboards to door cars, bumpers and exterior plastics, you could certainly do a lot worse, and I think it's going to be hard to find a dressing this cheap that's still pretty decent. I don't know how long it will last, but I can say that a couple of weeks later it was still hanging on reasonably fine. Last and potentially least was the mechanic's tyre foam. I've discussed this in past videos that I'm not a fan of aerosol tyre dressings. It's virtually impossible not to get it on the rims and even guards, but perhaps even more frustrating is how all the oily overspray travels and spots over the rest of the car and even on other cars close by. I think it's a bad idea, but again guys, that's just my opinion and experience. With that aside, what I can say is that it leaves a highly glossy, almost olive oil type finish, and if that's the look you personally like, this could be the tyre dressing for you. For us, it certainly wasn't a desirable look or finish. We tried wiping it back to see if we could matte the finish down, and although it did reduce a little gloss, it really didn't change all that much, and it seemed to leave a more patchy finish in certain areas. The other thing to mention is that it's described as a spray and go application, but even after allowing it to sit for up to an hour, it still didn't level down, and it will 100% sling if you don't go back and wipe it. But if that's not something you care about, you can certainly let it be. I think it's clear guys that we didn't exactly love this tyre dressing, and given the choice, I'd personally just not dress the tyres rather than use it, but that's just me. There was also a mechanic's liquid car polish we bought, but I didn't feel comfortable using it on the car without testing it on a panel first. And we unfortunately ran out of time as this video ended up being a lot more work over the course of a month than I ever anticipated. I know that in some parts of the world, hardware stores do in fact stock some great detailing products and brands with far more variety. But I couldn't even find a car wax at Bunnings, let alone any decent car cleaning tools or detailing brands. You local guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I almost remember Bunnings warehouse stocking a larger selection of detailing gear 5 to 10 years ago like Armour All, Kitten and possibly even Turtle Wax, but I could be wrong. In any case, as it stands right now, I don't think as a whole our main hardware store here in Australia is a great place to get your detailing supplies. If you can find what you need, they're certainly cheap, and sometimes cheap can be cheerful as opposed to cheap and nasty. And although I wouldn't call most of these products nasty, I think it's fair to say that they slowed down our productivity and reduced the quality of work we were able to achieve. So maybe we actually did get what we paid for in the end. I think when it comes to detailing supplies, it's not just about what it costs to make them. I actually think that in most cases, that's the cheapest part of producing them. The real cost, apart from creating brand awareness, is testing, research and development. There's a lot of chemicals that can generally clean well, but what happens when you use them to specifically clean a vehicle in an outdoor environment? What car surfaces and materials are they safe on or not? And how do they behave compared to cleaning a household kitchen? Anyone can slap a detailing label on any product, but without proper testing, tweaking, reformulations, dilution and technique suggestions, it's just a quick cash grab for the lower end of the market. Creating good car detailing supplies takes a lot of time, expense and investment to get it right. I think that's what you're really paying for. Someone has put the work into developing these chemicals, these tools and all these products so that in the end, the user appreciates how they work so well, tend to be safe and make the whole experience of detailing your car that much better. Like it or not, that's the reality, and that's the whole reason detailing products have become so much better than they used to be. And it's not because of certain brands that exist trying to make the cheapest possible products. I think I'll leave it there guys, and if you enjoyed this video and would like to say thanks and help support future content, You can do so by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/ccad, in which I'll have a link to in the description box, or you can now hit the thanks button below the video. And thank you everyone for the support so far. As always, I really hope you guys enjoyed and found this video useful. Please share it with others, give it a like and comment below to show your support for this content, and I'll see you guys soon.